Hey, it's JK. So back in August I did a neat little run in Dark Souls 1 using some weapon types traditionally considered bad. I do intend to do the same in Dark Souls 3 down the line with those same weapon types, but there's another bad weapon type which I believe deserved its own video. I'm talking of course about torches, a weapon type thought of so poorly that even Fextralife, that wiki bastion of always accurate information, doesn't list them as one, despite the fact you can wield them, attack with them, and there's more than one of them. So today, we will attempt to beat Dark Souls 3 with only torches. Will this run light up our lives, or will this be pure torture? Let's get it! Because that torture joke was just so good, we had to name our character that, and we pick warrior for the strength stat and the sovereignless soul for our gift. Now, the obvious problem is no class starts with the torch. So I kill Gundyr normally. I consider Gundyr the same way I consider the Asylum Demon in Dark Souls 1. You can't really do anything before beating him, so there we go. If you feel this invalidates the run, please write your favorite holiday destination in the comments below. While you remember that holiday you had when you were 8 years old and got food poisoning from a spaghetti bolognese, we place the coiled sword in the Firelink Shrine. From the Shrine Handmaiden, we can now buy our first torch, simply called Torch. It swings pretty slow and awkwardly, but at least it has a nice heavy poke. We bring strength up to 19 and then pop the soul we have on us to level up vigor. So let's test out the damage of this unupgraded torch. The torch, as you might imagine, deals both physical and fire damage. Okay, so 4 hits to kill this basic hollow enemy. That doesn't feel great. The heavy attack though does feel a lot better. A fully charged one does a considerable amount more damage, and even the uncharged heavy feels decent. In case you're wondering, it has no weapon skill and it can't do any critical attacks or backstabs. Doing our usual run around, we grab a Titanite shard here and also here, which lets us upgrade the torch to +1. It's in the shield section of the weapons I've just noticed, which is kinda odd. But no time to think about that now, it's time to get out of our comfort zone and take on our first boss. The damage is bad. There's no other way to say it really. Now, luckily Vordt isn't the most difficult boss to fight mechanically. In phase 1, it's quite easy to just stay under him and keep swinging. In the second phase, his swings can hit you even if you're underneath him, so a bit more caution is required. I started using a couple of heavy attacks to help weaken him down. A charged one here did some good damage as well. I actually nearly died near the end because I went to attack him from behind, and somehow I got blasted back, even though he was charging away from me. Luckily, I dodged his charges and finished him off taking down this human Vortress. With the souls gained, I actually leveled up endurance as I felt it would be useful here. This woman then told me a bunch of wild conspiracy theories, not sure what she was basing them on, and then these guys treat us with great importance as they gracefully carry us down below. I got a bit sick of this guy's gatekeeping, so gave him a good battering with our torch. I actually found that spamming the uncharged heavy can be a good method for stagger locking enemies, at least those that can be staggered anyway. By the big bonfire, we grab an Estus shard and an ember before running on through to this place. This guy saw an opportunity to attack me, but thankfully his AI broke and I just poked him to death. Sigurd then told me all about his worldly problems while I listened intently, giving him all of my attention. We then made friends with a giant and then spent some more time hanging out with our favorite onion bro. He's the best. As for the demon here, I don't think we're going to be of much help. Actually, I think we deal more damage than Sigurd does. How is that even possible? He's using an actual sword while I'm hitting this fire-based demon with a +1 torch. Whoever programmed these damage numbers should be fired. Anyway, after enough torch pokes, the demon goes down. Onion Bro then found the idea of a nap quite appealing, so he did just that. You know, this guy here always jump scares me, but not this time. Gotcha. Now oh my god! I hate these guys. Oh, the dogs, Wait, the torch makes them flail on the ground after 1 hit? Nice. Anyway, up above we get Flynn's ring, boosting our damage if our equip load is low, and then grab the Chloranthy ring from below as well. Worth noting, we could have got the Fire Clutch ring as well for a damage boost, but I didn't really fancy taking more damage on this run given the potential for fights to last quite a while. Now, we could do the Greatwood, but I'd rather we just upgrade our torch some more first. We blast through the Road of Sacrifices, not wasting any more time here than we have to before getting to the next bonfire. There's actually another bonfire here, which I did not even know existed until a stream I did back in July. So, yeah, crazy how you can still find things you didn't know about this game. Now, my plan is to get to the Cathedral of the Deep, but first we grab this Estus shard here, and then absolutely flawlessly ladder cheese these guys. We also grab another shard in the swamp here, pop some souls for a few extra level ups, speak to Anri for no real reason but to be neighborly, and then put out these fires as I was in the area anyway. I won't be doing the Abyss Watchers for a bit, but this will save some time later. There's an undead bone shard here, and of course the Dream Chaser's ashes. This lets us buy infinite Titanite shrines from the Shard Handmaiden. After buying a bunch, we can now upgrade the torch to an absolutely astounding +3. Hooray! I also remembered another undead bone shard I'd missed, but now I was finally ready. Let's see what our torch can do against the Crystal Sage. Well, the normal hits don't do a great amount of damage, but the charged attack though, that's some pretty nice numbers. I gotta say it felt pretty satisfying to just be able to run up and smack this idiot. In the latter phases, I would just run around and quickly smack the clones before zeroing in on the real one. Getting up close and charging attacks really helped to bring his health down, and after one last charge attack, the Crystal Sage goes down on the first attempt. Shame he never got to throw his Coming of Sage party. Back at the Handmaiden, I used the money to buy more Titanite shards. There's a reason for this, don't worry. I actually had to use the Crystal Sage soul as well to make sure I had enough, but we've now got 12 shards once again. I then beeline it past these teleporting dogs, thankfully making it inside the church and to the next bonfire before they rip me apart. The torch making them flail on the ground is great, not sure how this one got stuck in the door though. But anyway, we're speaking to Grandpa Gael. That's right, we're going into the DLC right now. We get sucked right into Gael's hole and end up in a world painted white. We've got a bit of a mission, so I pretty much just speed through, sliding down to the village and easily avoiding the Croverine with absolutely no issues whatsoever. Then we beat Sir Wilhelm in a close back and forth duel, which I win through my obvious epic gaming skill. Finally, after all that, we get our prize on the side of these cliffs, the Follower's Torch, actually the only other torch in the whole game. Before we check out what this weapon can do, we might as well get everything we can unlocked here, so I run on through and activate the bonfire outside Sister Friede's boss room. So let's compare. The Follower's Torch, even unupgraded, has way more physical attack than the normal torch, and its fire damage can actually scale because of the Int and Faith scaling this torch has. This does mean we also need 10 Int and Faith to wield it though, but the souls we've collected are more than enough to get us these stats, and we upgrade it to +4 with all the Titanite we bought earlier and some large shards we found in the DLC. Interestingly, the Follower's Torch shows up in the weapons section as opposed to the shield section, which already shows this weapon is treated with greater importance. The moveset is a lot faster, it feels like an actual weapon compared to the other torch. It even has a nice weapon art which lets you breathe some spicy breath on your enemies. I feel pretty fired up right now. And if all that wasn't good enough, it can even backstab. This day just keeps getting better and better. Anyway, we grab the Estus shard, the undead bone shard, and get slashed hard by this lunatic before easily taking them out with our new torch. With the first shortcut unlocked for us now, I grab Lloyd's sword ring to give us a nice damage boost at full health. Still not convinced? Well, look at this damage to this Cathedral Knight. That is massive. We get the final shortcut unlocked, and we're almost boss ready. Hey Onion Bro, why does your voice sound a bit different? It doesn't normally have this many layers to it. Oh god damn it, Patches! Despite Patch's attempts to screw me over, this actually worked in my favour. I took out this giant with minimal issues, and he of course drops a large Titanite shard. I even made the effort to take out the other one as well, which I never normally do, to get another large Titanite. With this, we get our torch up to +5, and put a point into strength for some more damage. You know what, I was actually excited to fight the Deacheads with a melee weapon after all the pain of fighting them with range builds. I could actually hit multiple Deacons at once. Sure, the fireballs were still annoying, but a fully charged R2 could one-shot them. For the second phase, I tried to cull the herd as much as possible, but they just respawn a little bit too fast. But that really wasn't an issue. Charged heavies easily brought down the health bar at a pretty rapid rate, and soon after, this fight is down on the first attempt. That was deeply satisfying. I'm actually getting some decent damage increases by leveling strength, so I put some more points into that, before returning to Farron Keep to extinguish the last flame. So it's at last time for the Abyss Watchers. These guys might think that it's a business as usual, but they're in for a nasty surprise. Look at this damage. 4 light attacks took off over half its health, and of course, let's not forget we can backstab him too. A follow-up with a charged heavy and a running attack brings this to the next phase. As always, the running attack is a great window to get behind for the backstab. This followed by a charged heavy meant half of their health was gone. 2 more of repeating the same tactic, and the fight was over just like that. This torch is actually good? I smashed some more points into strength, endurance, and vigor. I was now feeling super cocky. So there was only one thing for it. Yep, we're gonna go try Dancer right now. After Emma met with an unfortunate accident, I began to wonder if this was a bad idea. Dancer descended down and honestly didn't seem best pleased. Okay, well that's what I get for being cocky. It goes without saying that she can very easily two-shot me here, no question. So, can we find an answer for Dancer? Well, damage is decent, especially from charged heavies. Getting behind and giving her a ring sting works great for phase 1. But at some points I misjudged the distance and she ended up out of the range of our attacks. But also getting greedy with hits was a bad idea, especially in phase 2. I stuck with a single charged heavy, usually right after she does her spin following the jump. After the final spin of her mega spin combo is also great, providing you don't get greedy and nearly die like I did here. With one final torch poke, we cause Dancer to buy some Boreal estate in the afterlife. We stack up some more points in all the relevant stats, before once again activating this extremely impractical ladder to progress. So I'm now kinda keen to see how far we can push our damage with this weapon. This knight here basically guarantees a large Titanite shard drop, so we take him out a few times until we can get the torch upgraded to +6. Now it's time for item gathering once again. We grab this Estus shard, some chunks in the Consume King's Garden, as well as this one by the shortcut doorway. There's also more chunks in the upper areas of the castle such as here, here, and here as well. The torch is already pretty strong though. We hit this hollow so hard it caused these corpses to explode nearby. We run ahead to get another chunk here, and then make use of our spicy breath to eliminate the pus of man for more chunks. We now unlock the shortcut lift, and get the follower's torch upgraded to +9. I did think we might have to wait for +10 though. Or we would have, but then I remembered down here in the painted world. After flawlessly descending down these branches, after flawlessly descending down these branches, we make it to the bonfire at the bottom. Here, we can defeat this absolutely ballistic tree woman whose bite was definitely worse than her bark. This unlocks a ladder we can climb up to net ourselves a Titanite slab. So that's it, we now have a max upgraded follower's torch, our endgame weapon for the run, all ready to go. With this, there really is no reason we can't take on any boss we choose, so... Yep, we're gonna do this crappy boss. By the way, fun fact, I still only have 3 rings on. I'm sure that won't come back to bite me at any point in the future. Oh, also I realized I never went above Firelink Shrine to get the Estus Shard and Silver Serpent Ring, so yeah, I went to rectify that quickly. Now, the Gravetender and his pet wolf are normally pretty annoying, but honestly on this attempt it went kinda smooth. I killed the wolves quickly, landed 2 charge attacks on the Gravetender, and then broke his guard and did a critical attack twice in a row to bring him to very low health. He did manage to fight back and nearly kill me, and I was pretty worried his wolf was going to assault me from behind, but luckily this somehow didn't happen and I killed him. The wolf was obviously not best pleased by this and almost took me out in return, but a clutch ember usage saved the day. Following this, a few charge attacks on the wolf actually poise broke it and let me land a critical attack to finish off this fan Gravetender boss. When I went to level up, I noticed we weren't really getting much more damage for going above 35 strength, so decided to focus on endurance and vigor instead. As I was here in Ariandel, I saw no reason not to try Sister Friede right now, so I went and pulled her chain to make her extra cranky. I'm sure this will go just fine. So, turns out DLC bosses deal a lot of damage. Who knew? But that being said, I still managed to get pretty close after a couple of attempts. This is definitely doable. For phase 1, I mainly waited on her to do the invisibility move. You can pretty easily get a backstab in after you locate her following the jump. You can do an uncharged heavy afterwards, but the charged one takes too much time as she jumps away. This phase is pretty straightforward. For the second fight, Father Ariandel has such weak defenses that you can do great damage with charged heavies. I actually did break his poise towards the end, but unfortunately couldn't capitalize due to Friede's floor-freezing frolics. But I did manage to finish this phase off with our Flame Breath, which sort of makes up for it, maybe? Phase 3 is of course the hardest by far. I think my main issue was still wanting to try and get charged heavies in, when really, the opportunities to do this in this phase are few and far between. I ended up missing a lot of prime windows to attack, and in the end, used some R1s instead, before of course ending Black Flame with Torch Flame. Hers looks quite a bit cooler, to be honest. I felt like I needed a bit more damage resistance at this point, so I went to grab the Paladin's Ashes from before the Cathedral, put more points into Vigor, Endurance and Vitality, and then bought Lloyd's Shield Ring for more defense when at full health. Well, shall we go to the Ring City DLC now? Yeah, why not? I don't intend to do all of this right here, but there's a concerning boss I'd like to get out of the way right now. Also, there's some +3 rings lying around which could be quite useful. I clip this first angel's wings, take the danger jump to skip the swamp, say hello to another angel, before taking on the twin demons and demon prince. How's this gonna go? Okay, well, that hurt, but not bad for a first attempt. The demons, as you might imagine, resist fire quite a lot, but saying that, our torch has some okay physical damage, so at least for phase 1, this isn't too bad. Of course, we should always take out the demon in pain first for an easier demon prince fight, and a combination of heavy attacks and an occasional critical gets us through this. But then there's Demon Prince, who has huge defenses, meaning we see way less damage than against almost any other boss so far. Even on the rare occasion we land a critical attack, the damage just isn't that good. Thankfully, I have fought this boss quite a lot from the magic and bow runs, so I have a decent grasp of the moveset. But this was a long drawn out brawl, and after about 8 minutes of intense concentration, we caused this demon to burn out as we stagger him and land the final blow. This fight was tough, it had Miyazaki's finger prints all over it. I level Endurance and Vigor to 27, and at this point I'm just going to level Endurance as beyond 27 Vigor seems too overpowered for me. I decided not to continue with the rest of the DLC just yet. I actually wanted to find Patches, but he wasn't back at Firelink yet it seems. He was still hanging around Cathedral of the Deep, where I buy Sigwa's armor and then throw it down to him. I'm not really sure how well this heavy suit of armor helps him climb out of there, perhaps it's just good for his well-being. So let's go clear up some bosses. On the way to the Greatwood, Hodrick popped in to say hello quickly before my torch pokes turned him from a holy knight into a silent knight. So, onto the Greatwood. Given that we were obviously crazy over-leveled for this, and it's weak to fire, every single sack got popped with a single torch attack. This tree wouldn't be troubling us anymore. I next went back to Lothric Castle for Dragon Slayer armor, who very quickly ended up dragging my corpse along the ground. Lovely. Despite the initial mishap, this fight was surprisingly okay. It kinda shocks me that he doesn't resist fire more given this armor was used for slaying dragons, which, generally breathe fire, but there we go. It's also interesting how many opportunities he's actually got for me to get charged heavies in, especially in phase 2. With enough hits, this boss is defeated. Kinda crazy that we beat Dragon Slayer armor but we haven't even entered Catacombs of Carthus yet, right? The High Lord in here nearly caused me some problems when I got stuck in the mist, but we smashed each bracelet with just a few hits, so again, not a problem. So we then entered Irithyll at last. Never get tired of that beautiful view. First, the doggo on the bridge was easily taken down in 3 charged heavies. Then, we grabbed some feces from the sewers, we chatted with Onion Bro just for a nice break, and then this guy threw shade at us, showing that our power paled in comparison to his. He actually proved more troublesome than some of the bosses so far. His damage and quick attacks along with the surprising damage resistance was pretty annoying, but with enough persistence, his attempts to kill us end in failure. Okay, before the next boss, let's get some more endurance. Always good to have, especially when we love our charged heavies. Annoyingly, with Pontiff Sullivan, I very nearly first tried this, but as is my luck at times, I got stuck in a corner unable to roll away from their attacks until it was too late. That was a real pontiference maker for him. On the next attempt, things went a lot smoother. This time, when he started the phase 2 transition, I popped an ember instead of attacking. Then, when he went to use the clone, I went in for attacks, and this time I had enough stamina to kill the clone right away, as well as do some decent damage to Pontiff himself. With that, one more charged heavy staggered him, and one final swing ended it. So onwards to Anor Londo. After skillfully avoiding all the arrows from the Silver Knights with 0 issues, I get everything opened up shortcut wise and prepare for Aldrich. This was definitely one of the easier encounters of the run. This fight can be really annoying because sometimes he just spams the arrow rain in phase 2, but for the first time in ages, I actually got some good RNG and he only used it once in the second phase. I used the charged heavies to force Aldrich to devour our flaming flower, which turned out to be a bit too Aldrich for his taste and he died shortly after. Well, time to head down to Irithyll Dungeon. On the way down, I was invaded by Dark Souls 2, reminding me that it was time to start the contest. I'll start it soon, alright, stop bugging me. Anyway, we kill the Mimic here for another Estus shard, and grab an Undead Bone shard from Gilligan. RIP ladder bro. So here's an interesting one. Yhorm the Giant. So I had debated whether to just get Sigurd to sort him out, but there is a way to beat him with melee without using the Storm Ruler or Sigurd. Hitting his legs, as you've probably seen, does next to no damage, especially because he's immune to fire, but if you hit his hands, it does do more damage. Still a small amount compared to his health bar, sure, but after hitting them enough, Yhorm staggers and we can land a critical hit for some pretty decent damage. The main attack you want to bait is his double hand slam, which actually is kinda easy to do as long as you stay between his legs. You can walk away and walk back, land a hit on his hand and repeat. It's not the quickest. This was easily the longest fight of the run, clocking in at 15 minutes total. I could probably get this faster, but it was literally my first time trying this strategy, so I'm still happy I managed to pull it off. Give this attack Yhormation a try yourself. With that done, let's continue this really weird order of bosses. Don't worry, I'll give you the abridged version. On the way down, we poke Spicy Joe to death, let the ballista deworm the lake, and then activate the bonfire, grabbing the Estus Shard and the Undead Bone Shard in the area. I did think the old Demon King might be problematic due to his fire resistance, but again he's kind of an early game boss, so our damage is pretty good. I actually would have done this hit list were it not for the fact I underestimated the size of the explosion at the end. At least he went out with a bang. So time for the Grand Archives. The sage at the beginning had pissed me off for the last time, so an assault here and then another assault higher up spelt his doom. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. Oh god damn it. I normally don't bother with these guys, but why not, we're having fun. I take out the spellcaster first because he's pretty annoying. I then very nearly died when I tried to attack one of them, but just barely managed to survive. The brawl actually sprawled out onto the rooftops before I was able to take out the Dex user, and then shortly after managed to burn down the Great Axe guy. This time, it was he who underestimated my fiery temper. After grabbing an Estus Shard in the area, it was now time for the Twin Princes. So what's the damage like? Wow. So, is it fair to say that this torch is actually like a decent weapon? At least if you sequence break to get it fully upgraded, I mean. Phase 1 goes down quickly. Phase 2 actually has a few opportunities to land a charged heavy and actually hit both princes, which did surprise me. I thought for sure they'd teleport away, but thanks to this and our decent damage, it only took one Lorien kill to end this thanks to a barrage of heavies at the end. The shockwaves from our attacks was so intense, I'd give that an 8 on the Lothric scale. And speaking of scale, here's a slimy looking dragon with no scales. Looks like a dragon mated with a cuttlefish. The best advice for this guy? Stay under him as much as possible. We landed a lot of hits and absolutely destroyed his health during the phase transition. He only got off his no wind-up charge once in this fight, and after a few more hits, I landed a final one to his face before using my fire breath to cook some nice cuttlefish dragon, which I topped with some Osai Rosemary. Beyond him, we grab the Path of the Dragon gesture, and enter the untended graves. Turns out that cuttlefish dragon was an endangered species, and this NPC invaded to try and place a sanction on me. I really didn't want this crime held against me, so I quickly killed her before she could write it up. Dodged a bullet, for now anyway. Next up, it's time for Solomon Gundy. Died on a Saturday, buried on a Sunday. This fight was fun. I did take a fair few hits, and to be honest, I felt like I won because I out-damaged him in the end. We poke, and poke some more until victory is ours. With that out the way, I decided to do some light meditation. I ended up dozing off, only to wake up in this hellish place, taking part in a fire-breathing contest against these snake men. Hardly peak content. I mean, especially not with this crappy boss. As I'm actually using a weapon this time, I was curious if I could pull off the plunge with the torch, so I actually did the annoying boss run back, just barely making it up the ladder to the wooden platforms above. We land the plunge attack from up high Vern, and it does successfully take out the worst boss in the game. After running past a bunch of enemies that my wife deemed too cute for me to kill, some naked guy tried to poke us with his pointy sword, but we use our torch to burn it right off. Wait, what? So the storm has arrived. Time for a battle in the clouds. Shouldn't this bird wield the sword that kills Yhorm? He is the Storm Ruler after all. Anyway, phase 1 is pretty straightforward as the critical attack situation takes off a lot of its health. For phase 2, the best opportunities are after any of the flying attacks, and also after the lightning attacks if you manage to stay close enough to him. Damage is definitely a bit lower our end than against some of the other bosses, but with enough good dodging and landing charged heavies, the Gwyn's of Change blow, and victory is ours. The bell tolls for this boss, and we are now done with everything in the base game, apart from the final boss of course. So, back to the DLC at last. These ringed imps fly us down to the Winged City. Let's get it. By far one of the biggest obstacles here is Midir. No, not this bit. This bit. It's actually kinda tough to hit his head here, and our damage is very low. He said he wouldn't let me pass, and I said, frankly Midir, I don't give a damn. After grabbing the Chloranthy Ring +3, we now can take on the worst boss of the DLC. Yep, I hate this guy. I died to Halflight more than most other bosses up to this point. 2 hits can mean death if you're not careful. Ian the Painting Guard definitely doesn't help, and getting stunlocked is, to put it half lightly, quite frustrating. So how do we do this? Well, first, we need to take out Ian as quick as possible, charged heavy as soon as he spawns, and keep the pressure on so he can't heal. I found charging the heavy as he comes at you so he walks right into that hit was very useful. Even if I traded hits, the damage was definitely worth it. With the second Ian on the go, you need to take him out as soon as possible. Do not let him heal or this fight will just drag even longer. But with him down and just Halflight remaining, this is much more manageable. To finish him off, I actually used a barrage of fire breath to turn this idiot from half light to full fried. Good riddance. Alright, 2 DLC bosses left to go. The camera pulls back to reveal a desolate world, only one light left shining in the darkness. Our torch. After Gael had finished his dinner, he asked to touch the dark soul inside me, which honestly made me feel pretty uncomfortable. Not as uncomfortable as when he smashed his greatsword into my head though. Our damage definitely feels on the low side here. A big part of that is just because of how much health he has. I'll be honest, I haven't fought Slave Knight Gael with melee in quite a while, so this tested me a bit. To be fair, I probably could have made this easier had I opted for light attacks, but I was just really enjoying landing these heavies. Towards the end, I did have to work some lights in just because I was getting punished too often, and my Estus count was starting to look a little on the low side. But finally, with no Estus left, I finished Gael off in the most cocky way possible by using my fire breath. Luckily, it did the trick. I probably would have been fired from my YouTube gig if it hadn't. So that just leaves Midir. I actually thought this was going to be much worse damage-wise, but hitting his head did much more damage than I was getting with Gael. I started with just some light attacks, but quickly found that charged heavies were an option as well. I could even land 2 of them during the openings. With this, it didn't take long to set him up for a critical attack, and shortly after we land the finishing blows, meaning by some miracle we've completed the DLC with torches. Not much left now. We place the cinders of the lords, let the firekeeper shower us with ash, and at last we take on the Soul of Cinder, the final boss of the game. This guy is pretty aggressive, and of course he does resist fire as you might imagine. I got quite lucky in that he transformed into Sorcerer mode, which had a huge number of openings for the classic charged heavies. For Gwyn mode, the best opportunities to attack are after the jump attack, but I never go for more than one because if he starts the multi-hit combo, it'll be game over for me. However, with enough patience, we solo the final boss and end this torture. But was it torture? This weapon was actually good. I had fully expected going into this that it would be a low damage struggle with a bad moveset, but the damage we got from the Follower's Torch was pretty impressive. Try it for yourself sometime if you fancy, you might be surprised. Until next time, I've been JK Leeds. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to do the usual YouTube stuff, and yeah, see ya. Have a good one.